Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin. Today is another day of a Cabinet of Curiosiprompts. In fact, it is day 18, which is wow. We're really chewing through these here. I was not expecting to get through these so quickly, but here we are. We're on day 18. If you are just now joining me, a Cabinet of Curiosiprompts is a month-long art challenge that I'm hosting with my friend Tiff over at Amethyst Raven 342. So make sure you go check her out, see what she's making today. Check out the playlist in my description box below. Make sure you hit see more so that you can see more. And then you can see what everybody else is making for this challenge on YouTube, as well as see the Pinterest board of inspiration I've gathered for you in case you were looking for some ideas on what to do. But let's just jump into it. I see that you guys are still here, so hey, welcome back. I appreciate you for hanging in there. I know yesterday I got heavy. I'm gonna keep getting heavier and heavier until I just pass through the world. I am so dense, and honestly, I don't know where that was going. I had no end to that joke. But at any rate, the prompt for today is an interesting one, and I didn't really know how to approach this one, especially after I put all of my feelings into the last tag. So those of you guys who are still here, who are still subscribed, I appreciate your faces. I honestly do. Thanks for being good people and hanging in. It's just nice to know that you guys are hanging out with me. I really appreciate that. Also, I just like being surrounded by good people. Isn't that crazy? Wild thought process. So I guess for the prompt today is 18. It's Malefic. Maleficent. Malefic. There we go. Maleficent being an offshoot of today's prompt. It's an adjective. It means harmful, damaging, or causing ill effects. Not necessarily evil, more like a troublesome influence. And I thought about it. And then I channeled my inner Ferngully kid, because I was raised on that movie. And I spent the entire time singing Toxic Love to myself while putting this tag together, because I wanted to do pollution. I thought about what is harmful, damaging, and causes ill effects. It's pollution. And is it necessarily evil? Not on its own, right? Like, it doesn't come from nowhere. People pollute. People make pollution. Companies make pollution. I'm not going to sit here and do my whole Greenpeace spiel for you guys. I feel like I've soapboxed probably enough for this week. Although, for whatever reason, the prompts for this week are really just making me drag that soapbox out every single time I see one. But, whatchamacallit, on its own, pollution is a side effect, right? Like, it's a byproduct of the actions that people are taking, and it's sort of a consequence of being careless and not taking proper precautions to prevent such things, or choosing greener alternatives and things like that. So I think pollution fits the prompt. And then I was like, well, what color is pollution? Of course it's lime green, you guys. How could it be anything else? So I started out by layering in some of this it's a Jane Davenport marker. I pulled these up just recently because I was like, you know what, you have not touched these in a freaking a freaking age. I'm reading it as I'm trying to tell it to you guys. Words are really hard. But it's a Jane Davenport marker. It's the Color Institute. I used the color seaweed for this, which is appropriate, because we're polluting the ocean as well, so I guess that all fits in, although all the colors are ocean themed, so it doesn't really matter. But that's like a transparent, sort of liquidy watercolor type color, and then I went over the top of that with Twisted Citron Distress Oxide, so I could have some oxidation like effects. They're essentially the same color. I was really surprised to see that the color matched so perfectly between the two. I was expecting there to be like a slight variation in like tone, but there was not. So color me surprised. It still worked out just fine. I used up some old book page to add some interest to the background. There wasn't really much to it outside of just thinking of like the remnants that are left behind in like the wake of pollution. And then I grabbed some die cut leaves, went over those with Distress Grit Paste in Crypt. I had to say that very carefully. I was going to mess it all up. And then I heated the bejesus out of it. You will notice that mine, it was like a little bit, it's a little thick. I haven't used it in a while, so it's starting to like dry out. I just added a couple sprays of water in there so it can rehydrate a little bit. So the next time I use it, hopefully it won't be so chunky. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, I heated the bejesus out of it until like it boiled and bubbled. You guys saw. Also, again, ventilation. Do not breathe that in. It boils and bubbles like plastic. You guys, it's not made of things I think you should breathe in. I don't know what it's made of, but don't breathe it in, okay? And then I went over and got my stencil, put in these cracks, because I think it's like the cracks in the foundation is kind of what I'm thinking here. And then I added in this like bubbly stamp, because it looks like gross bubbling like black oil, like crude oil being poured into the ocean. I'm trying to like evoke the feeling of pollution without actually polluting the things. And then I went over on top of that with a gelato in lime green color as well to add in just some marks, so to like break up some of the background a little bit. It stands out in places, it blends in others. I think it works just fine. And then I'm going to dry brush my leaves in this whitewash, so you can see I'm tapping off most of the color just to sort of pick up all the texture and the raised bits on this on these leaves. And then I'm going to go back through and do that again, dry brushing with this Distress Oxide and mustard seed, because I want to sort of make toxic leaves. I don't know how to like describe it, like polluted leaves that have like the feel of being corrupted by the pollution, like the sludge that's like rolling in. That's the kind of vibe that I'm going for here. This is also a very good way to make zombie skin if you have ever wanted to do that. If you were ever thinking about how can I represent zombies, use the distressed grit paste in Crypt and boil it alive with your heat tool, and you will get a gross skin-like texture that after a couple layers of dry brushing will look like zombie skin. That's a project for a different day perhaps. But I'm going to go back in with some more of these Jane Davenport markers in like colors of like yellowish, like this, it's like a mustardy yellow color, and then again in the that seaweed green color to make it look more infesticated with like pollution and grossness. I guess essentially I'm making zombified leaves at this point because that's how they feel. And then I was like, oh, they don't really stand out from the background that much. They're kind of a little bit plain. So I thought, you know, I would fulfill my contractual obligation to once again emboss. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And then I realized I should have used some black to pick out the edges here and make it, you know, a little more distinct and a little more popping, and also to tie in with the black in the background. So I did that on top of the embossing ink, which didn't hurt at all. It was fine. Just relatively painless. And then I'm going to use my triple thick embossing powder because I want it to be substantially embossed. And then we're gonna like rip and roar and get in there. And I love that it brings like all the colors to the forefront, makes them a lot brighter underneath the like the clear glossiness of it. Also, it makes them look a little bit more unnatural and stand out a little bit from the background, so that works. If I were to do this again, I would probably go harder on the yellow color, because in my brain I was like, yellow, like a warning sign, you know, like a radiation toxicity warning sign. That's why we're doing yellow. I could have gone harder on the yellow, to be honest, because it doesn't pop off the background the way that I wanted it to, but we're going to work with it. We're going to make it work. Because I do like how this tag came out at the end of all things. It does do the things that I wanted it to do. And I guess the bonus to making this tag is that I got to listen to Tim Curry's voice in my head sing one of my favorite animated songs of all time, because there's something oddly sexual about like Hexus and that cloud of toxic smoke, and I don't know why, but it was a weird awakening to have. Never got past that. But he is also one of my favorite villains that I don't think we talk about enough. But also, like, I don't remember the human guy in the movie. Like, he was so inconsequential to me. It was Krista and Hexus, and that was all I cared about. But, like, what was his deal? I'm so glad that we didn't go with, like, knockoff John Smith as, like, Endgame. Like, he had to go back to being a human and, like, fuck off, because I don't like him. I didn't like him in the movie. I don't like him now as an adult. I don't know what it is. Hey, baby. And then I was like, okay, so we got our leaves on here. I added some shadow to like bring them up to the forefront a little bit because they were like washing out into the back. And then I was like, oh yeah, I have letter stickers. I can spell out toxic and then give homage to the song that I've been singing in my head. And that's what I do. I use these Tim Holtz Halloween little stickers that I couldn't think of any good use for until right now. So I guess, don't throw away your letters if you can't think what to do with them. They will eventually come in handy. And then I'm gonna give those a quick little outline, and we're gonna be like basically done until I decide that, you know what, there's something about pollution and the way that it impacts the environment and people kind of like wash over it that, needs a little pop of like a little brass. We're gonna put a little shine on it because we're covering up like how serious the effects actually are. And that's everything. So yeah, come back tomorrow, see what we do for the next day of hashtag Curiosiprompts. See what Tiff is doing over at Amethyst Raven 342, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Till then, I appreciate your faces. Happy crafting and goodbye.